So welcome back everyone after almost 2 years to the Football Analytics and Rant Show, and joining me as always is Elijah. And today we have a fairly short episode which includes mostly about quite a few recent interesting developments in Indian football, and also the growing influence of Saudi, in particularly Saudi money in European football. So starting off, first we'll talk about Indian football's recent rise. So if you're not sure, Indian football, if I'm not wrong, is on Indian football team. The national team is on 10 or 11 game unbeaten streak, and they played in like 3 tournaments. They haven't lost a game in all 3 tournaments. And these are not against very easy opposition also. They were against similarly ranked and even higher ranked opposition. And as a result of it, right now India are ranked 100 in the world. And as it stands right now, for the 2026 World Cup, India will be seeded in pot 2, which means there is less likely of facing not more than one of the top 5 or top 7 teams in Asia.
Is this for the qualifiers?
Yes, this is for the qualifiers for the 2026 World Cup in
so
the
this
United
is qualifiers States. To the playoffs for the World Cup, or this is playoffs for the qualifiers for the World Cup?
This is the initial second round we call it. So there will be 4 pots. So pot 1 will include the...
Yeah, so these they are playing, this is like a mini tournament, so they win this and then they play the qualifiers for the World Cup.
Yes,
okay,
this is the main qualifiers is the third round. So first the second round is there. There will be groups of 4 teams or 5 teams. So it depends on number of teams qualifying from the previous round. Sometimes there are some teams will get disqualified. So meeting regulations, there are some last time there was a new associate member who just got membership, so they couldn't participate because they have no official ranking yet. I think it was a country called Northern Mariana Islands or something.
Wait, India also was banned for a few months, weeks, whatever it was, not very long ago. So how did they get that back? India was banned because they did not have elections or some nonsense like that.
Yes, so that was regarding the AIFF and one particular person, namely Praful Patel, who was in charge and who was the president for more than 2-3 terms, which is against the rules, and also the fact that he was winning unanimously.
And that the problem was that not that he was having 2-3 terms, it was a 2-3 terms without elections or something of that sort.
Yes. Nobody stood against it. So what happened was the Indian Supreme Court intervened, and they put a separate governing body just to manage until the elections happened. So this went against the rules of FIFA, in which other government associations or any other organization should not intervene in the football federation of a country. So which forced FIFA to ban them. Yeah, so as I was talking, 3 tournaments. So it started with the Tri-Nation series. It was hosted, if I am not wrong, in northeastern India. And India, including India, there were 3 countries. And as I told, it was Myanmar and Kyrgyzstan. So Kyrgyzstan at that time was ranked below 95. So they were significantly higher, and they were the favorites to win the trophy. The other team was Myanmar. Even though they are less ranked than India, often India found it difficult to beat the team. What happened was India beat Kyrgyzstan very convincingly, 2-0 as a matter of fact, and they were unbeaten throughout the tournament. So after this tournament, India played in the Intercontinental Cup, and the highest ranked team there was Lebanon. So this was an interesting situation because Lebanon were right above India. So India was 101 and Lebanon were 99th. So if India beat Lebanon or Lebanon beat India, it will be a significant boost in ranking. And each one of them we can leapfrog each other. So it was very close. So for India it was very important. Not even if they lose the other games, they had to beat Lebanon. So India came into the tournament as like favorites along with Lebanon. There were like 4 teams in total. The others being Mongolia and Vanuatu. Vanuatu is...
I've never even heard of that country. What?
Vanuatu. Yes, I am sorry if my pronunciation is wrong. Vanuatu is a small island nation in like Pacific Ocean, that area. And they are playing under the Oceania Football Confederation. So they are not like a big team, but see, the thing is, rankings are not as reliable because each confederation will have a different playing style. So if you take a low ranked team from Africa and a low ranked team from Asia, both of them will play differently. It's not necessarily that they should play in the same way of football. They should not. For example, if I say Kyrgyzstan, for example, Kyrgyzstan is ranked close to Belarus. But Kyrgyzstan is in Asian Football Confederation. Belarus is part of UEFA. What happened when India faced Belarus was they were far superior to India. This was like maybe last year, I think so. They were far superior and they won the game convincingly 3-0.
So, but when you say the style of football, do you mean like their tactics or how their league system is set up, how they play friendlies?
In fact, some of the weaker teams in like some of the stronger confederations, namely the South American like CONMEBOL and UEFA, even if India play suppose Luxembourg or Liechtenstein, it will not be as easy as beating let's say Pakistan or Sri Lanka, despite those teams having a worse ranking than the above mentioned teams. So the confederation strength also you have to take into account over the ranking. Yeah, so as I was telling, so India comfortably beat Vanuatu and Mongolia, even though they could have scored a lot of goals. But so there was a little bit of skepticism when they were about to face Lebanon because they did not necessarily have a good history against Lebanon. So Lebanon was leading in terms of overall wins against India.
And Lebanon or some other team that they were playing, I recently saw in some Instagram post, I think.
Yes.
They were ranked higher than India, but due to something they couldn't play for a few years, so they got penalized or something, so they fell a few rankings.
Yes.
So technically they were a superior team than India, but India did manage to beat them.
Yes.
Was it Lebanon?
Yes, that was Kuwait though.
Kuwait,
that was
yes.
coming, that is the SAFF championship.
Okay, go on.
So so Lebanon, that game was very tight. So the first half Lebanon had the ball more, and but the second half India played one of the most beautiful. I'm talking about the final. They didn't meet in the group stage though. I'm talking about the final because that is the I think you should all watch that game also. So the first half India were a little shaky, but then as always India has by far one of the best keepers in Southeast Asia and one of the best keepers in Asia right now. I am talking about Gurpreet Singh Sandhu, and because of that they held on very well. Second half, I'm not even joking, it is like by far one of the best plays India has ever made in football in the last 20 years. That second half was like from a different level. It's as if you are watching some European game or something. I'm not saying it's that level of standard, but the coordination, the passing and the intent to score goals, that was very good. And also the fact that the attack finally started clicking. And we are not completely reliant on Sunil Chhetri. There are multiple other scorers who are creating chances of scoring goals, namely Changte and Sahal right now. So yeah, so that was like a big test, and India had overcome it. So by the end of that tournament, India actually were like, if you look at the live ranking, not FIFA only publishes ranking like once every month or something. So there is something called live ranking. So India at that moment were in 98th in the world. So they were going into the SAFF championship next, which just recently concluded, ranked 98th. So it was a little bit more of a tougher competition because there were a lot of similarly ranked countries, and also there are 2 Arab countries, and one of that was Kuwait. So if I recall, around 10 years back when India faced Kuwait, India lost by 9 goals to 1. One of their worst losses in Indian football history. So they're meeting the same team after more than 10 years. So that still was haunting in their head, but yeah, there was something different. So India were in the same group. Ironically, India were in the same group as Kuwait, as well as rejuvenant Pakistan side. So if you're not know about Pakistan football, yes, Pakistan does have a football team. If you don't know, so they have been banned. They had been banned for 5 years. That is why I never heard of it. So they haven't played in any of the previous 3-4 SAFF championship. So
but I heard rumors that most of their players are not actually Pakistanis, or they're like foreign nationals with just Pakistani passports or something like that.
Yes, they were what we call here. We gave a category of citizenship. We call them Indian overseas citizens. So Pakistan also has such citizens. Basically, they are Indian origin. Pakistani origin players playing in other countries. So in India, the problem is these players, Indian AIFF or Indian government in particular, if you want to get an Indian passport, you have to give up whichever passport. Like if you want to be a permanent citizen, not overseas citizen, if you want to be a permanent citizen, you have to give up your previous passport.
And I don't think India allows overseas citizens to play in our national team.
Yes, they do not. But Pakistan's government actually relaxed these rules. They gave dual citizenship to the these foreign Pakistani origin players. Mainly, most of them are playing in England. Like they're not playing in the second division or not. Most of them will be in the third, fourth, and fifth division. But still, those are much better than the players they had already. The only problem is they lack coordination, and when we saw the tournament, we could see that also. There were moments in which they had some good plays and all, but there was lack of coordination. Their only experience was 2-3 friendlies before that, which they got absolutely thrashed. And yeah, but still, anyway, it was India versus Pakistan in the first game, and as you all know, whether it be any sport, there will always be a rivalry, and it showed also. There was a record attendance, the most number of people that watched the game in that particular stadium, the Kantirava Stadium in Bangalore. There was around 25,000 people. It was full. There was no space, and there were even applications for tickets even after it sold out. So it was a very, very intense atmosphere. But then if you wanted to watch a very competitive game, I think you didn't watch that, because India absolutely, they are 80 rankings above, 80 or 90 rankings above Pakistan at that time. And they did show that. They had to show that. I mean, if they can't beat Pakistan, then we can't even think of beating higher ranked teams like Kuwait and also. It was a good performance, and there were some lacking points in that. Probably because they were not taking it full on, because according for them the biggest match in the group was against Kuwait. So yeah, India comfortably won it 4-0 the match, and there was a lot of fight in between. Also, the Indian coach pushed one of the Pakistani players were trying to take a throw in. So there was an argument that it was not a Pakistani throw in, it was an Indian throw in. So one of the Indian coach, Ego's team match, actually pushed the ball off the Pakistani players, and the whole Pakistani team started coming towards him. And there was a lot of,
There was a scuffle that broke
scuffle
out.
at that point. And the Indian coach got a red card, which we will come to on to later. Yes. So after that, India had a game against Nepal, if I'm not wrong. And Nepal, if I'm not wrong, Nepal is one of the few teams who give a challenge to India other than maybe Maldives. So and Nepal are also a growing country, and whenever we faced them, we didn't win by a huge margin. We always struggled to get the win, and it also showed that I think we won by 1 or 2 goal margins. So that was that game, and finally the last game was against Kuwait. So Kuwait also beat Pakistan and Nepal with almost the same margin as we beat those two teams. So whoever wins the last group game was going to finish in top. Or in India's case, India had to win India had to win with the higher goal margin. So what happened was India actually scored first, and till 89th minute everybody thought that India was going to win. But then absolute horror scene happened, in injury time, when one of the Kuwait players put a cross inside, and one of India's defender named Anwar Ali, who is we'll come on to about Anwar Ali later on. He has a very interesting story. So he was trying to clear, he ended up putting it to his own net. As a result, India finished second in the group and had to play again Lebanon. So this is a common thing you're going to see in the next few years also, because the next 2 tournaments India are participating, Lebanon is in there, both 2 tournaments also. So you might see these 2 teams facing each other a lot. Already they've played each other 3-4 times right now. So the semi-final, Lebanon actually played much better than maybe the Intercontinental Cup, because I think they valued the trophy a little bit more. And it eventually went down to a penalty shootout, 0-0. And again, yes, the man steps up, Gurpreet Singh. Yes, India, all the penalties were perfect. I've never thought Indians were this good at penalties. They converted all the penalties, and Gurpreet Singh saved 2 of those penalties, and which led to India facing Kuwait again in the final, which was a very, very, very physical game, as you saw in the group itself. And also, during the Lebanon game, our friend Igor Stimac, Indian coach, got another red card, which gave him a 2-match suspension. So he was not available for the final. So during the final, it was a very intense affair, and Kuwait actually tested India's resilience a lot. That game also had ended in a draw and had to go into a penalty shootout. And again, in both teams had a perfect 5 penalties. It went to sudden death. India scored his sudden death penalty, and after that it was up to Gurpreet to save it. And in a similar turn of events, he ended up saving it, and India ended up winning their 9th SAFF championship. I know India is at this point India is the most dominant force in SAFF, but this tournament was particularly harder, and there was a lot at stake to winning this tournament, and every single team who played there showed that. So after this only the new rankings got released after this tournament, and India were ranked 100. So the pot draw will be taking place in July. I think it's on July 27th. So they will be using the current FIFA rankings, in which India, as it stands, is ranked 18th in Asia. So they're just above, just enough to be in pot 2. So so if you not sure, then there are 4 pots in the World Cup qualifiers. So we'll continue that. So we are actually going to the second topic right now, which is India's chance of qualifying for the 2026 World Cup.
Do we have a chance realistically?
Not necessarily, but I mean, North Korea qualified once, so we can't rule anything out also. Back then there were only...
But wasn't that not North Korea? There was somewhere in Asia where the World Cup was held once and that team qualified, but I think that's the only time that an Asian team qualified.
No. North Korea qualify actually. So this is actually a very very interesting thing.
I am sorry if my trivia knowledge is not as good. I just know what I know from random shit.
Yeah. So actually, if you remember, like a lot of people consider the 2010 World Cup was one of the best ever.
Sir, no, sir. 2022 was magic. That was one
I
wild
know,
World Cup.
but still, yeah, it is like most of the people.
It was our first World Cup, technically, for
it
our
was my
generation.
first World Cup, definitely, and it was very very weird seeing North Korea there, because North Korea also has a history. They were the lowest ranked country to ever participate in the World Cup.
Damn. Even
Yes.
till date.
Till date, yes. So they had no chances because they were in a group with Portugal and Brazil.
Oh, wait, yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Now
yes.
you can call this, yes. So yeah, I think we should not go further in that. I mean, yeah, North Korea, that is too dark. That's a topic we can reserve to a little later.
Sure.
What happened to that team is a little, it's a little dark topic. So, yeah, so it is possible. Now, back then, Asia had only 4.5 slots. So, 4 direct slots and 1 playoff. So, maximum 5 teams could participate. Now, it's doubled.
Okay.
There are 8.5 slots, so potentially 9 teams can qualify. So the scenario now is like India is in pot 2. So pot 1 will contain all your Saudi, Iran and Japan, Korea, all these top nations in Asia right now. And pot 2 will contain the middleweight nations. But these nations we can potentially beat, and but they can beat us also on a given day.
Sir, anyone can beat us, sir. We are only good now because our league has been developing for a while.
Because we are in pot 2 right now, the good thing is we will not face any country from pot 2. So we will not face the likes of UAE, China, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan. These teams will not be facing us.
So the heavyweights.
Only one heavyweight team. Pot 3 teams are the teams which we have already played before and we have the chance of beating. So those include the Thailand, the Lebanon, the Kuwait, all these teams. So if we are playing at this rate right now, we can beat these teams. Not saying easily, but we can beat these teams, and we have a genuine chance of beating these teams.
We do have the quality. The league got quite a few good players out.
Yes.
From, I don't know, the shadows or something.
Yes. And then we have this pot 4 teams. That's all. Pot 4 teams are actually very easy. That is at the level of maybe Sri Lanka or Pakistan, that level. So we can easily beat them. So if we somehow manage to not concede too many goals, suppose if we get maybe Iran or Japan or Korea, if we just manage to get the goal difference less and win the rest of the games, we can finish as runner-up and qualify to the final round, which India has never done in its whole history. So the final round has actually been expanded. It was just 12 teams earlier, and now it has been expanded to 18 teams. So all the group winners and the runners-up will get qualification into the final round. Also, this also means direct qualification to the next Asian Cup also. So usually India, when they qualified for the last 2 Asian Cups, they finished third and they had to play an additional qualifying round, which sometimes can backfire also, because India previously played those rounds and got knocked out earlier. So it also means we are getting a regular participation in the AFC Cup, and we'll also be in pot 1 or 2 for this seeding during the Asian Cup also. Yeah, leaving that is another thing. So coming to the final round. Final round consists of 8 teams. So not 8 teams, it's 18 teams. So out of that, there are the top 6 teams will get direct qualification into the World Cup. So the remaining, how many teams? 12 teams. The 12 teams will be divided again into 2 groups, and the top 4 teams, the top 2 teams from those 2 groups will again get the direct qualification, and there is again one more chance. The remaining teams will go through another qualifying round for that one playoff slot. So even if we don't get, there is very less chance we'll be one of the top 16s out of 18, and I don't think we don't have a chance of getting after through the next round also when the other 2 slots also. So the 8 slots, it's very less, but India has a chance of somehow getting the playoff slot if they continue playing the current form. So the playoff slot it will be between like you will have to play with a team from another confederation. So if you remember, Australia was part of the during the previous qualification process. There were only 4 direct slots and 1 playoff slot. So Australia and UAE had to battle for the playoff slots. So Australia prevailed that time over 2 legs. So they had to face Peru. Peru is actually quite a decent team playing from CONMEBOL, and Australia were actually the underdogs in that game because Australia's previous record with Peru was very bad. So it depends. You can get it. They do a draw actually. You can get a team from OFC, which is actually easier. You can get a team from CONMEBOL, or you can get a team from CONCACAF also, which is the North American Federation. So reaching there itself, I mean, as far as I know, I think reaching the 3rd round itself will be the biggest achievement so far, since we somehow qualified for the 1950 World Cup and didn't go and play there. So that will be the biggest achievement by far. And if we keep on pushing this, so if we manage to qualify for the 3rd round, we will be facing very, very good opposition also. World class teams that are ranked under 30 also. So this will actually boost the popularity of Indian football, and people will get a sense, okay, this team is actually improving and this team is actually worth watching, because there is a lot of following for football in India. The thing is, most of it is for European football, and most of the people support European football teams and European national teams also. So if they see, okay, our country can...
Which team do you personally support?
Yes, I do support Germany, and I do not want to talk about it right now because they are in a very miserable situation right now.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, so do you like to add anything?
I don't follow Indian football as deeply as my brother here.
You can say like you had watched some games, so you could say...
Yeah, I watched a few games. We were playing well. Like, it didn't seem like we were just sitting back and defending. So the style of play was a lot better than I expected it to be, because I have seen ISL since the first edition, and the first edition was absolute dog shit, to be quite
it was an exhibition.
Generous. It was bad. I genuinely think our college football teams play more disciplined. I genuinely think we play better on the streets, because they were fouling people left, right and center. They're like, okay, big people are here. I understand when big people come, you don't want to treat them specially, so you want to do stuff like that. So seeing that and seeing where we are now, when we saw the latest ISL season, when we saw the recent national games, the quality of football has improved radically. We are a much better team than we were. But even like Jitu said, we did technically on paper and for the most part did dominate Pakistan. But somehow I did not feel it was convincing enough. Like, if it was a stronger opposition, we would have struggled. And that came out in the game against Nepal, like he said. That came out in the final. Like, I know that you can't outright beat teams all the time, and sometimes sport is that way, that you have to go to the final and then go to the sudden death and whatever nonsense. But still, if we are aiming to be a superpower, let's say not a superpower in the world, but at least in our own continent or in our own regional federation, we have to be a lot better. So realistically, like we were saying in the beginning of this topic, we might not have a chance, but it's good to see that we are at least improving. We are at least not doing the bragging stuff that China did, that by 2050 we have to win the World Cup, we have to host a World Cup, or like how Saudi says we want to host the World Cup, we want to win. Well, Saudi Arabia is quite a decent team now, but still, like, we're not saying it as much, but we are doing it. And considering the support we get from our government, it's very, very good that our team is in such a place. Because I remember, I think last year or something, when our national team won something, they gave them some weird award and the players' dressing room was in a bathroom or some nonsense like that. It was quite a deplorable condition. And not too long ago, I think just over a year ago, when there was a national game, Sunil Chhetri had to make a post on Instagram saying, please come out and support us, please come and watch, there are other games, we are working very hard, please come and watch. So from such a position to where we have come now, where stadiums are being sold out, people actually genuinely come who are passionate for the game and just not for the sake of being cool or whatever, who are actually interested in the game, coming, watching the national team, supporting them in full strength like they would support any other team that they're actually passionate about, is really good. And I think Jittu and me had the privilege of actually attending football games for the first time in our lives now.
Yeah.
How was your experience, sir? We are going off topic here, but still.
Yes, I did go and watch it. I think it was during December, near Christmas time. I had the chance to go and watch in Kerala Blasters game in Kochi, and which I had actually wanted to do for a long time, but sadly I was in Vellore most of the time. So yeah, so it was I actually had to go in a bike, and it was not a pleasant ride, but yes. So as soon as we went there, we went a little late, like the game was about to start 5 minutes, we ran inside and the whole stadium was full. Like full. I have never seen, like, it is my first time watching
any sport in a stadium? Was it the first time going to a stadium?
I had watched cricket matches before.
In a stadium?
In a stadium, like when I was young, but football match with this much crowd I've never watched.
Yes, that's a Kerala exclusive feature, sir,
Yes.
because I went for the Hyderabad game. It wasn't full. The fans who were there were actually passionate, but it wasn't full. But the Kochi games, my God, when you see them on TV, it's like you're actually watching a European team playing in some UCL game when all it is just an ISL league game. So that is a really good thing. But go on with your experience.
The thing I would like to add, like, I don't know if is there any of our listeners, if you have watched the ISL in your phone or if you watched it in your TV, and if you watched any Kerala Blasters game, if you have noticed whenever they score a goal, the camera starts shaking. That is not because of any broadcasting issue. The stadium actually shakes. I'm telling you, because the initial capacity of the stadium was 65,000. There were so many people in the stadium. The stadium's infrastructure couldn't hold that many people because they were jumping around full time. So they had to reduce it by 20,000 to 40 or 41,000. And out of that, the game I attended was the second highest attended game in the season for them. There were around 37 or 38,000 people there at that time. And there's a huge standing section, so that is where this Manyapada will be there. So there will be like at least some 10 to 15,000 people in that particular area alone. And that particular area, they'll have flares, they'll have what do we call it? Like Indian, like we call it chenda. So it's sort of a drum. So they'll be playing that, there'll be the stadium announcer going like this, and every 10-15 minutes we'll have one Mexican wave coming. The whole people, everybody you'll have flags drop, people will be waving flags, you'll be dropping from the top this thing. So I had got actually a seat near closer to the pitch. So actually that was a good thing also, because I could enjoy the atmosphere as well as I could watch the game properly also.
And the good thing about Indian football, because it's in its, what should I say, early stages of its rise, the tickets are not very costly. How much was the ticket cost when you went?
The cheapest ticket, I got around the mid-range ticket. The cheapest ticket was around 270 rupees. I think that is towards the highest end of any club in ISL right now, if I'm not wrong, for a starting ticket.
Yes, sir.
So I think probably it's because the demand is more, maybe. That is why. The ticket I got was around $380. So it was, because it was close to the pitch, they charged a little bit more for that, which was still reasonable. Yes.
Yes, $380 is not a lot. We spend it on all kinds of retarded shit.
Yes.
So yeah, so my ticket wasn't very costly, and my experience was not the same as Jittu. It was not as electrifying, but there were quite a lot of fans, and most of them were passionate. And now, I support Hyderabad FC because that's where I come from. I'm from Hyderabad, so it was very, how should I say, endearing to see so many people actually come out. They have an official fans club. They have a separate section earmarked for the fan club people to stay. They have separate cost for the fan club people.
Ooh.
The fan club people don't have restrictions in bringing stuff. So if I go into the stadium, like if you've ever been to an IPL game, the cricket game, they don't allow water bottles and all kinds of
Yeah,
nonsense
they have a
in.
lot of restrictions. Yes.
Because they are afraid of us throwing that stuff in and all of that. So almost the same thing happened when I went. So I went on a pass that cost like, I don't know, 300, 400 rupees. And it was very close to the pitch. The stadium is not very big. So no matter where you're in the stadium, you're quite close to the pitch. So but even though it's a repurposed athletic stadium with the football ground in the middle, the ground was very good. The lighting was very good. The camera was very good. Everything was like proper. It did not feel like we are a small league still trying to develop. It felt like we were actually doing something, and the quality of football and display, like the experience of watching football live is quite different from watching it on TV. Like Jittu had told me, when he was watching it on TV, he felt that sometimes the games felt a little slow, a little boring, but when you actually watch it in person, it's quite entertaining and it doesn't feel as slow. And I support Hyderabad FC, who play a lot of, fast style football. It was very, very entertaining to watch, and I picked a perfect game to go watch. We bet Northeast United FC, 6-1 or some nonsense like that. So every 10 or 15 minutes, everyone was up and jumping. So when I was saying about how people go in, so for the fan section, official fan section, they don't have any restrictions as far as I know. So they get their flags, they get poles for their flags. There were 3 separate drum sections in 3 different parts of the stadium. And like if you watch the games, they will not show you the empty parts of the stadium, because Hyderabad is still not that deep into football or supporting their own football club. But it was still a very good atmosphere. The stadium capacity is, 18,000, 19,000, which by the way is bigger than Inter Miami Stadium right now.
Okay, that's a low blow.
It is a low blow, but still, Messi is going to play in a stadium which is smaller than the stadium I go to watch football in, and that's a government-owned stadium.
Yeah. I mean, they have a plan of building a new stadium, but yeah, he will have to play that for like half a season there, though.
They said they're building a new one where there was supposed to be a water park or something, whatever. So, straying off topic again and again, but still, it was quite a good atmosphere. The whole stadium capacity is around 19 to 21,000 something. But that day when I went to watch the game, there were only like 9,000 people. But it was still quite good to watch so many people actually enthusiastic about football, actually shouting. They had chants for individual players. I thought that was only for English clubs or some other big clubs. They had chants for individual players, and the players would sometimes turn back and acknowledge those chants. It was so good because it's a small stadium.
Yeah.
They can hear everything you say.
Yeah.
And while it's silent when you shout, everyone on pitch can hear you. They had chants for the referee when the calls went against them. I had never expected that I would see a day where Indian football would reach such a level that we would have players that we would know, we would make chants for them, they would acknowledge us, and the football would be good. That is the best part about it. It's not that we were watching, that game I watched was substandard because it was Northeast United FC. No shade on anyone. That team is actually hot garbage. But like, it was good. The quality was not as bad as I thought, because I remember watching the first season of ISL and it was atrocious. So
yes.
From there to where we are now, I don't know if it's been like 13, 14 seasons or whatever, but we have
8.
improved.
Yeah.
It's only 8.
Yes.
Oh, for 8 seasons, that's quite a big jump. From
And also
one.
the fact that when ISL started, there were like 6 or 7 foreign players playing in the starting 11. So right now it is only 4.
Like the IPL.
Yes, so 4. So that means there are like 7 Indian players at any time in the pitch. There will be 7. So most of the squad is Indian. So it is actually Indians playing well. It's not the foreigners alone.
Yeah, that's actually necessary for our country's game to develop.
Yes. Yeah. So I think we are going a lot out of topic. I think because we were talking about the national team. I mean, yeah, it is still relevant. The domestic scene also, and since we are already here, then I'll just shortly mention certain things that is going to happen in the next season and certain plans that the AFF has planned for the next season. So, if you're not aware, the AFF has actually accepted 5 corporate bids for I-League teams, which means there will be 5 confirmed teams excluding the 10 teams that were already there, which means the newly promoted teams and the teams that were still there in the I League. So, which means there is potentially a chance of 15 to 16 teams. Depends on, because one of the bids had some problem with the location, so there will be at least 15 to 16 bids. 15 to 16 teams, my bad, in the I League, which is the second team and which is the highest ever in any professional league in India. Let it be any sport, any professional league in India. So right now, like AFF are planning actually to divide them into like two separate zones, and they will end up playing around 20 or 21, 22 games, which is actually good enough for a second division. And the top team, they'll play a sort of a final system. The top team will qualify into the next season's ISL. So 15 teams will be confirmed playing in the second division. And also the fact that if you know, last season's I League winners Roundglass Punjab have became the first team to get promoted into the ICL, not corporate entry, no franchisee fees.
And they'll be playing this upcoming season.
Yes, they will be playing. They will be the 12th team, which means the ISL will be extended for 1 month more, which means more football. Which means the next season will be starting in 2 months in September. And also to the fact that there will be a mid-break because the Asian Cup is happening in January. So there will be a break during January. As you all know, India is participating, and there are plans. Maybe the coach is actually proposing for a 4-week camp in which for Indian players for first team scouting, and out of that he'll pick up his final squad so that they can prepare well. I don't know how much of it will be feasible. I mean, it has the AFF and FSTL who conducts the ISL has to agree with that. And yeah, also India has also proposed a proper league structure. For the first time we can have a proper league structure at least till 5th tier. So from next season onwards, all first three divisions, the ISL, the I League, and currently it's called the second division league. It's called second division, but it's the third division technically. It's called second division league. Will be playing simultaneously in the same time. And the second division for the first time will be played as a single league consisting, as of now there are 8 teams, there might be 10 teams, so it will be a single league. And there might be some division because of to cut down traveling costs, because if you know, India is a big country. India is almost 3/4 the size of entire Europe. And also, so now you can imagine Indian clubs who already have a less budget traveling. So this still, the more teams we have, the more better, the more chances Indian players to get free. Even if they had to cut costs in places, the initiative is something which I acknowledge a lot. And the 5th tier, the actual 4th tier is going to be a new league, centralized league. Earlier the 4th tier used to be the state leagues, the individual state leagues. So now they are planning to have a 4th tier properly, which is including all like at a national level scale. But it will have the initial group stages will be regionalized, but there will be a national champion. So there will be a national title to fight for. And also one interesting thing that they have added is only the ISL and I League will be able to field foreign players, and they have decided that no foreign players will be competing in any of the lower divisions. And also in the I League, only 3 foreign players should start in the I League as opposed to 4 earlier. And also you can only sign 4 or 5, if I'm not wrong, foreign players in the squad. So which in turn gives more opportunity to Indian players, which is exactly what our national team coach wants also. And adding to the fact that next after that level will be the state leagues. And as of recently of now, a lot of state leagues have become more active. A lot of states which didn't have state leagues have restarted their state leagues, put more money into that also, and which overall helps in improving. And one big news, I know if there anybody who's an OG Indian football fan who has been following it since like maybe early 2005, 2008, 9. Someone is there listening.
This is Indian football and not football in general.
Yes, Indian football. So there used to be a competition called the Federation Cup. So the Federation Cup was the official cup competition of India. It is actually very old. It is not some fancy competition like the Super Cup we had like recently just for the sake of having a cup competition. The Federation Cup had a lot of history also. And in fact, it is the second oldest cup competition in India, and it was started in 1977. So it has quite a lot of history in it, and it was defunct for like 4 years right now, and they had replaced the Super Cup. Now AFF is planning to bring back the Federation Cup. And the interesting part is, I don't know if you've noticed cup competitions in Europe or South America or maybe the top countries in Asia also, the cup competitions happen in between the league season. So there have been talks, I don't know if it's exactly true, they're planning to incorporate the cup competition, not like a single separate event which happened last year when you look at the Super Cup. They are going to incorporate in between the league matches, so there's more at stake. So people will value it, and the winning the Federation Cup will give you a continental slot also. So there's a lot to play for. There's a history, there's Asian qualification, and also the fact that proper squad managing is also very important because there are midweek games.
So it will basically be the equivalent of
FA Cup.
FA Cup.
FA Cup, exactly, same thing. And also it has more history. There's more value for teams to play. It's not like some random Super Cup trophy or something.
True.
So since Federation Cup is coming, Super Cup will be defunct, and they are earlier only the I-League teams, like earlier I-League was the top division, only top division teams used to compete. So now the Federation Cup will get expanded, probably even to include the third division, which is the second division league teams also. There is a probability, but at least we'll get 2 different leagues, so it will be sort of like an open tournament, pseudo open tournament if you can say. And it will be happening in different venues. Unlike putting it everything in single venue and playing, they will be happening in different venues. One team will host. Whichever team has the better infrastructure, they will be most probably will be hosting the games. So that is one recent development. So there will be in turn more matches right now. So last year when they added the Durand Cup and the Super Cup together, on an average an Indian player played more than 32 games in a season, which is at least 10-12 more than it was earlier. It was 10-12 more than the previous season earlier. And also the fact that AFC has decided to move to a spring to summer, like the same calendar as the UEFA. So the Asian Champions League and the second tier competition, which is the AFC Cup, will be happening along with the Indian football season. So you will get midweek Champions League games also, which good news, Mumbai City is competing, and there are 2 clubs in the AFC Cup also. So it will be properly like a packed schedule properly, and all these it is similar to the Champions League. Then the ACL games most probably will be happening in Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and the AFC Cup games will be happening in the weekends mostly. So it will be very interesting. There will be a lot of games to work, especially if you are fans of Mumbai City, ATK and Odisha.
It's not ATK anymore.
Oh, sorry. Mohan Bagan Super Giants.
Don't say Super Giants. I don't know what crack cocaine that man is on. He has to put his name in every single thing possible. Yeah. At least like the Red Bull group is a little more subtle. It's just RB, but at least it sounds cool. What the heck is SG? Rising Pune Super Giants, Lucknow Super Giants, Mohan Bagan Super Giants. Sometimes I wish they weren't even taken over.
Yeah.
Well, let's not go off into that rant.
So, Mohan Bagan Super Giants, and the third team, which was the surprise of last season, Odisha FC winning their first ever silverware. Yes, Odisha have done it before Kerala Blasters fans. Yeah, it's okay. We are technically the Tottenham Hotspur of India.
What the?
As of now, let's not turn out to be like that.
You could have just said Arsenal or something, because Arsenal hasn't won in a long time too. Why did you have to do yourself like that? Tottenham Hotspur of India, it seems.
Arsenal at least win something in between. No, we
Or-
come close in the final and we lose every time.
On behalf of Jittu, I would sincerely apologize to all his Malayali listeners.
Yeah, so yeah. So it's a big year ahead of Indian football right now, and I encourage people to start watching. You don't have to sit and watch all the games. At least some games, like it's not the same level. And please do not think that Indian football is slow. I have seen it because it has to do a lot with how Star Sports treated Indian football and the ISL, which was with zero respect, and the broadcasting was very inconsistent. Some of the games will stop in between. The quality was very bad, especially in some of the stadiums. They are saying it's because of the lighting systems in the stadium. I don't think that should be that bad and all. I mean, if I tell like the Australian League, for example, A-League, as of now, the ISLs, at least not the top Australian teams, at least most of the other teams are at the same level as that. So we get to see the same level of football. But for some reason, whenever we watch, if you've not watched the A-League, if you watch the highlights, you can get it on YouTube. It looks much more fluid, much more cleaner, it looks much more faster. But in real life, it is actually the same intensity that we are playing here. So it has to do with broadcast also. So please, once go watch one game. One good game, like if one good team, if they're playing, just go watch one game live if you have the chance, and then you can come to a conclusion. I'm not saying it's still at the level of European football, but it's much better than you think it is.
Yes, definitely. I would completely agree with him on that. Our football's level is much, much, much better than what it seems on TV and whatever else. I don't care what news outlet, what newspaper has told you what. Unless you go and experience it in the stadium, you will never fully understand it. And watching sports in person, live happening in front of you, is a different kind of a hit. The euphoria you get while cheering for your own team, for your own, regional players or whatever that is.
Yeah.
It's much, much different than what we see. So I would definitely understand why there are ultras in these European teams. I would definitely understand why fans chuck things at players when they're watching football in other countries, because it makes sense. You're so passionate about the game.
Yes.
And you're invested in it so much, because in our place it's cheap. It's 300 rupees, 400 rupees. There they have to pay 170 pounds, 200 pounds, 300 pounds to go watch it. So for them it's actually an investment, and they're doing that and they're putting that much effort in. So I understand this thing. And I think if you actually like a team, go in person to the stadium, watch the game, and then if you like their game, you can continue supporting them. If not, you can switch teams, because the beauty of any sport is they have home and away games. So eventually some team that you support is going to play in your hometown or your whole ground or whatever, at least somewhere close to you. It can't be more than 500 kilometers away from you. So if you really are that passionate of a football fan who thinks he's missing out on these big games because you're not in Europe or something, we do have a decent league with the decent infrastructure and whatever. It is quite decent. It's not as bad as we have presumed it to be. And for trivia nerds, I think after PL, La Liga, and I think Bundesliga, ours is the most watched league in the world. I think our league is more watched than the Bundesliga, in fact. So I think that ours is the third or the fourth.
At one point, no, not currently. At one point, yes. During the initial years, yes.
Yeah, so we were at some point, because India is a big country and we have a lot of people who watch football. So I understand people who like cricket and all of that, but there are other sports too, like everyone else says. And I personally used to be a cricket fan at one point in time. So I understand that you are loyal to your own team, but football is no joke, and there's a reason why it's a spectacle. And unless you experience it in the stadiums, you won't understand. And you won't understand why we've been talking for the last 53 and a half minutes about Indian football, unless you actually go there. Because I think this is the first time Jittu and me are actually recording in person. We've always had this through Zoom or something. So it's a very different experience to recording like this also. But unless you go to the stadium, you won't understand why we are so hell-bent on talking about this and trying to push people. It makes sense once you go there and watch it. And yeah, that's all I have to say about this topic.
Yeah. And if you think like you have to play for Hotstar next year, the Hotstar will not be broadcasting ISL tomorrow and like next year. And sorry, what am I telling? Yeah, sorry. So ISL next year, it will be taken up by Jio Cinema.
Everything is on Jio now, sir.
Yes, everything is on Jio. So since it's the first year, there is a chance that they will air it for free, which means like the World Cup, you can potentially watch it for free. If it is coming for free, please do give a try and not give a subscription as an excuse. And since I watched the World Cup, I think Jio Cinema's broadcast is better.
It's much better, sir.
Yes.
I pay for F1 TV, and that you can select individual drivers, you can watch graphs and stuff like that. The IPL this year was a completely different broadcasting experience to anything I've seen for any sport in a very long time, at least for an Indian audience. We had multi-camera views. You could switch views at whatever time you wanted. You could change commentary languages. If you didn't like, you could change. You could hear what they're saying from the pitch side mics. Everything was available to you, and they were doing it for free, obviously, because they want more people to come onto their platform. I don't know why we're talking about this. But yes, Jio Cinema is doing a good job because they're investing more money into it. It makes sense that people would want to watch it more. But I think even if you have to pay a little bit of money, I think it is worth it at this point. And if you are really a football fan, piracy is not an option. So just try and pay for it. And what should I say? Jio Cinema is quite good. Yes, the World Cup, we did have a few times when the coverage dropped in between, but that was only because it was technically still a new platform and they did not handle so much traffic back then. I think they're much better equipped to handle it now. Yeah. And you know how Reliance, they have a lot of money. So they can just throw money at the wall till the problem fixes itself. And now I think most of these big, HBO has moved from Hotstar over to Jio Cinema. There are a lot of big studios that have moved. So even if you are not if you don't think that money is worth paying for Jio Cinema, you can at least watch all these other HBO shows on there and other things. And it's the app is not as clunky. And the app is not as clunky or as drab as it used to be. It's a lot better. We are saying all of this just in an effort to convince you to just watch the game. Watch the game because it's worth it. Don't watch the game because a couple of dogs sitting in a room in Vellore are telling you it's good. You have to experience it for yourself to understand what we are saying. Yes, sir.
And we are not promoting Jio Cinema, sorry.
We are not promoting anything. Sir, we spend our own money on this. I wish we were sponsored by someone. But I don't think anyone is sponsoring for 40 people to listen to it. I do appreciate the 40 people who are listening to it though.
Yes. Please do share it to your friends also. Yeah, coming to the topic, I think we've talked a lot about Indian football. And
yes, sir. 57 minutes to be exact, sir.
Yes, I think if new information comes, we'll just keep adding. We'll have a small section in the future for Indian football.
I don't think anywhere in this whole country you're going to get coverage so deep about Indian football. I don't think I've ever got so much. And that's only because Jittu is an encyclopedia of football knowledge and he's extremely passionate about Indian football. No, I don't think anyone has talked for 57 minutes in so much detail about the different tiers. So if anyone wants to understand Indian football in detail, or if anyone says Indian football is not as good, just refer them to this episode. I know it's long and I know we are not professionals, so we are not very passionate or enthusiastic about presenting it, but it is quite good content if you want to know about it. I think he's covered every Wikipedia article to find out all this information, but he's got everything spot on. There are very less things that we haven't covered in this, and like he said, anything new that comes up anyway, he'll keep putting it. And if you haven't joined our WhatsApp group, you should, because I don't know, people keep posting stuff on it about different things. Okay, what is the next topic, sir?
Yes, the next topic is about Saudi Arabia.
So we've already hit 58 minutes. Should we do the Saudi Arabia thing in the next episode and release it sometime else this week?
I mean, yeah, we can do that. I think if we start talking, it will be a huge episode. It might go on for 2 hours in total. So there's a lot of thing in that also. And yeah, I remember telling in the beginning that it's going to be a small episode, but yeah, since we haven't recorded in a long time, it ended up becoming so big. I think we can go with that, yeah.
Okay, so outro, sir.
So yeah, thank you for listening till now if you have made it till now. and we shall be trying to post consistently episodes.
If Jittu doesn't keep making excuses.
Yes, sorry about that. And please do share. And we'll be posting it on Spotify and in YouTube.
I think everywhere that you listen to podcasts, it will be available.
Yes. So if you want to join our community, the link is there in our Facebook page as well as in our Instagram.
It'll be there everywhere that the podcast is out. Anywhere
Yes.
you're listening to, you just have to go to the description and click on the link to join.
Yes. Or else you can contact us through our Facebook or Instagram if you're not able to join through. Yes. And please do keep supporting the community. Please share it to your friends. And yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Oh, on another note, how old has your Bayan family Kerala turned now?
5 years exactly. Yes. We turned 5 years.
So that's the biggest Bayan fan club in India. Congratulations on turning 5. That is quite an achievement.
Thank you. And I would like to thank all the members in my fan club and all the admins right now for doing a lot of good work and organizing everything nicely. And yeah, I think I'm too much going to. Thank you. Love you all.